and welcome back to Lorna Whiston Schools podcast, the place where we connect with parents from around the globe to share our experiences on a variety of topics. We are a leading school and we've been based in Singapore for over 40 years. We specialize in developing a lifelong love for learning, and our focus is working with our parents to develop their 21st century skills, transforming them into the talented, critical thinkers of tomorrow. I am your host, Paula Rawlins, and the former head teacher for Lorna Whiston School Speech and Drama Department, currently heading our Special Projects Department alongside my colleague and friend, Qasim Riza Shaheen, who is also an artist, a writer, and an educator. Lovely to see you. Great to have the opportunity to have this conversation with you today.
Likewise, and, Paula.
Our subject will be, for all those listeners out there, is why speech and drama programs are important for their child.
Indeed.
So let's get it going.
Indeed. Yes. Thank you so much for this invitation. It's a real pleasure to be talking to you.
You're more than welcome. So we've had a lot of parents who come into centre, who send us in emails, who we see face to face, as you already know. And they say, why should I enroll my child for speech and drama? What will it do for them? What are the benefits of speech and drama in the long term for our child? So they find it very difficult sometimes to realize, the long-term benefits that this can do for the child as they go through their life. So that is our reason today for this podcast, and to share our knowledge with the listeners today. So I'm going to let you start this off, Qasim.
Sure. Well, I have to begin by just acknowledging my own personal experience of having learned drama at school and the freedom it gave me, the freedom of movement, the freedom of thinking out of the box, to the magic of imagination. It's that one time in a school day where you can just get up and you can literally be whatever you want to be. And I think that is one of the main reasons that I ended up kind of journeying throughout my life within the creative industry for that very reason. Freedom, but also that critical engagement with what's around us.
And I think a lot of the parents, when they discover speech and drama programs such as ours at Lorna Whiston Schools, sometimes they're under the impression that it's all about acting, which it's not. And we try and tell them that the benefits of taking up speech and drama will help the children in many, many ways, particularly these days with them having to do online learning and interviews for schools, where it can be very, very daunting for a child to sit in front of a screen and talk to someone across there and still sort of express themselves across a Zoom call, for example, that would project their real personality and take them out of their comfort zone. The voice projection, facial expressions. When an interview is on screen, the child can sometimes look a bit dazed and look a bit shocked and not show their true persona. And how can speech and drama help that? You mentioned that whilst you were growing up, and for me also, speech and drama, you can be anything in speech and drama, anything you want. You can let your imagination flow and, just be free. Be free in the speech and drama class, yet very structured, because the teacher has some work to do alongside there as well.
Indeed. And I think you're raising a really important thing. We can't really talk about speech and drama at the moment without acknowledging the time that we're living in. It's a very difficult time. It's very challenging. And we've had to adapt to technology very, very quickly. Our social spaces have changed. Our learners are not having enough time to socialize. They're only online to learn. They're not engaging with one another. Those little conversations that happen during the lessons between students are not happening. And as much as we want to engage with our learners, we have a new sort of a medium to go through. Just taking one step back in terms of what the importance of speech and drama, I think really we are constantly performing our lives. Let's forget about speech and drama as a subject, but we are sites of our own personal histories. The way we dress, the choice of apparel, the manner in which we speak, and the freedom we allow ourselves for that personal kind of autonomy around who we are in the world that we live in. When we think about the classroom as a mini world, what we need to be really aware of are the kind of messages, the kind of stories that we're inhabiting and populating our classrooms with. That's been really important to me as an educator, to make sure that there is a balance and a self-awareness that goes with this idea of freedom to be whatever and whoever we want to be, because we want to become compassionate. We want to become global citizens. We want to be able to understand languages and cultures and different ways of life in a way which points to our similarities rather than our differences. I remember that time when you joined us for a class in public speaking, and that was a really interesting class. And I remember that we continued having a conversation, just you and I, after the class, and just how important and difficult some of those conversations were. Do you remember?
I certainly do. And I remember asking if I may come back the next week to see what the children came up with for the particular lesson. And I thought it was such an interesting class, and it gave everybody an opportunity to express their own views and for each to feed back on each other at the same time. And I liked the way that you fed back to each student individually on what they'd actually presented in the lesson, regardless of the time that they spent presenting, whether it was 1 minute or 2 minutes or longer. Each child got an individual pat on the shoulder, a well done, but also some really constructive feedback to them to take away from the lesson. And you could see, or I certainly felt that watching as an onlooker, how just that little compliment goes such a long way with the children. And you can see their body language immediately think, wow, the teacher thought I'd done a great job with this. And it left them leaving the lesson feeling that they had achieved something really, really good and that they've been praised for it along the way.
I'm really pleased that you picked up on that, because for me, what is really important, and even more so than the scheme of work and the lesson plans and the PPT and the resources and all of that information that we have at our fingertips, what's most important for me in a speech and drama forum, a classroom, are the stories that are embodied in our learners, the stories and narratives that they've grown up with. I'm interested in understanding their family, understanding the community they come from, understanding their belief systems, because otherwise I'm talking at my students and not having a conversation. There has to be a dialogue. I mean, for example, what are the implications of teaching Rapunzel to young girls who are wearing the hijab or the tudong? What is their relationship to their hair? Do we just talk about cultural difference in a lesson about, for example, Malala Yousafzai, or do we allow that conversation of diversity and a multiplicity of approaches to be messy and overflow the frame of our lesson, allowing there to be dialogue, allowing there to be questions, which sometimes are difficult, but are really, really important to address during those formative years. I remember so clearly as a child, I mean, I grew up loving Aladdin, but I also had a self-loathing that was attached to my reading of Aladdin, because when it talked about Arabia, it talked about a very Orientalist vision where, the opening song, for example, in Disney's cartoon film is, it's barbaric, but hey, it's home. Or when Jasmine's father the Sultan says to Raja, her tiger, may Allah never give you daughters. It really does position a community in a particular light during these really important formative years. And as somebody of color, growing up with very little in the media in the first place to latch onto, very few role models, having a Disney production like Aladdin that was talking of potentially a very, very diverse culture as a monolithic group of barbaric people. These are the sort of things that we have to be very careful about as educators, that we have to look at the curriculum. We have to look at the stories that we're telling, although they appear innocent at first. Looking at those again, you can very clearly see how it's impacting your relationship with otherness, your relationship with diverse cultures and ethnicities. So I make it a point to really look at the cultural codes of the place that I'm teaching in. I'm interested in local histories. I'm interested in role models that are emerging from those places which are relatable, which my learners are engaging with. If I'm talking about Rapunzel and, for example, hair, I can also talk about Yuna and the way this Malaysian singer is, for example, using the tudong in a very stylish and fashionable way, and allowing girls who are wearing the tudong to actually say, yes, you can wear something which is related to religion and culture, but you can also have that individual style. You can have that individual approach and take to fashion. So these are the kind of things that I really hone in the classroom.
I think it's very important, like you say, to look around at where we're teaching, who the students are, and respect for the cultures that are around us. And I think that the Lorna Whiston curriculum team, including ourselves, really take that into consideration in our writing and its delivery in the classroom.
Absolutely. And that's why it's been so exciting to work with a team at Lorna Whiston that is so progressive in its understanding of English language, understanding of public speaking, confident communication, speech and drama, and has this sense of internationalism, has this sense of alternative stories, allowing source communities to tell their own stories. And I think this is really embedded within Lorna Whiston and its teaching. So I think it's been a real pleasure to be a part of a team that's on the same page.
And I think it also gives the children an opportunity, especially when we're in centres, to work as a team and share ideas as one and present as one with the same kind of ideas. And we give them that freedom to express their ideas and explore other people's ideas. So we are constantly learning from each other in the classroom. And also they might hear about something that they had no idea about or didn't know we had to be more sensible in our approach towards when they hear others speaking.
And I think this also extends, Paula, to interdisciplinary dialogue as well, sort of cross-curricular ideas, allowing these conversations then to manifest in a more project-based learning environment where we're problem solving together, we're understanding virtues and compassion and collaboration and global thinking together by allowing this diverse stimuli that you're bringing into the classroom. For example, we were looking at how the pandemic is affecting us. And I was really interested in Victor and Rolf's collection. They had talked about mental health and well-being in fashion. I was looking at biomorphic design. So I introduced ideas of Zaha Hadid and her architecture and how she plays with this idea of nature and how it can manifest in a form of a building and architecture. Looking at structural forms, for example, in maths, and looking at Yoji Yamamoto and Issey Miyake and Japanese designs. The idea of speech and drama is certainly not just about getting up there and presenting something or reading a poem or reading a script. It's really much more a holistic approach where you are pulling in strands from different subjects, science, history, geography, design, personal and social education, all of that sort of comes together as potential stimuli to really encourage safe space, a space where you can think and space where you can question, and allow that to become the basis for a dialogue.
How would you say, Qasim, we adapt certain lessons in our curriculum to suit the age group? So maybe we would get a topic where we find that the class are not understanding fully what we're trying to put across. How do we adapt it for each levels? This is something that the parents bring up time and time again, even if it's simplest form. It might be a lesson about Harry Potter and the writer J.K. Rowling. Their child has never, ever been exposed to any of the stories, but it's in our curriculum and they feel that that might be a bit tough for them. Or how would you describe how we bring that to life in the classroom?
Finding common ground. I mean, all of these conversations that we're having and we have had, Paula, these are between educators. This is for parents, for us. But when we're translating all of that into the classroom, obviously, we are not going to put this across as these, academic concepts. We water them down. We make them bite-sized. We make them accessible. We make them age appropriate. We find that common ground. That's why I think apparel is really important for a speech and drama teacher, because whatever you're wearing is not just what you wear in the morning. It becomes a costume. It becomes a stimuli. For example, a learner says to me, "What's your favorite color?" And my favorite color is pink. So I say my favorite color is pink. And sometimes you get a reaction like, "Oh, but pink is for girls." And then that starts a conversation about why. Why is the color specifically associated with boys? And why is one color associated with girls? When we look at fairy tales, why does a princess always need to be rescued? Why can't you be the one who rescues the prince? So we're looking at, on a very, very micro level, on a very small sort of baby step level, we're kind of looking at these assumptions that our learners are surrounded with in popular culture. Like I was making that example of Disney earlier on, we have to counteract that in some way. We can't change the sort of the wider narrative. That's not in our hands, but we can shift the narrative. We can allow that sort of glass ceiling to be broken for our learners if they want to do something. If a boy wants to learn to dance, or if a girl wants to play football, we can allow that freedom. And the key word here is, as an educator, you are giving permission to your learner to be who they are, or who they think they are, or who they are exploring to be. And by giving that permission, by giving that safe space, you are allowing that learner to really extend their own perimeters.
You brought up fairy tales there. I remember going back many years ago in one of my drama classes, I'm reading a story about a princess. I can't remember the actual title. It certainly wasn't Cinderella. It was another one. And I looked to my left and I saw a young child was crying. So I moved on. I didn't highlight her or embarrass her. But towards the end of the class, when I had a moment where I could just chat to her one-on-one, I asked her why she was crying during such a lovely story. And she said to me that she could never be a princess, ever. And I said, why? And she said, because in every princess story that she had seen or read, they never wear spectacles. And she was wearing spectacles. And I thought, God, it's so true.
Absolutely.
You generally never see a princess wearing spectacles. So I told her that there will be many books in the future with princesses wearing spectacles. And again, in drama, you can be anything. You can be anything in drama. It just allows you to be creative and allow your imagination to flow.
Yes, and just to add to what you're saying, Paula, and to rewrite those stories, rewrite them, take that
Yes.
ownership and say, no, that princess does wear glasses.
Yes.
Allowing us as educators to have a more open-ended approach and concentrating on the process of learning rather than kind of always striving to finish our lesson, to finish the lesson plan, to allow there to be that movement, that organic kind of movement of like, okay, these are my learners. That's what they're thinking. The lesson can be about those things. And that is valid. So taking away that pressure that we sometimes put on ourselves as educators, that we have to deliver and we have to complete our lesson in the way that we have planned it. You know, the lessons are not about us. I strive with each lesson to become more and more invisible. I really don't want to be present. I don't tend to be too much of teacher in role because I want to see their imagination. So if I'm asking them to create something, I won't show them how to do it. I'd rather learn from them and adapt that and build that so that they can take ownership of their imagination in the classroom.
Absolutely. Impromptu, spontaneity is a great words in the classroom. And I think the braver ones, once they start to take that step and go a little bit further, they can be creative. They can come up with the most amazing stories and sort of self-direct themselves. So I agree with you about the teacher in role. Just allow it to happen organically, if you like.
Yes.
And see what they come up with. It's just amazing to watch.
And so amazing to see that peer learning taking place as well, Paula. Just the way that, learners absorb from one another. I really enjoy that. In fact, I really encourage lots of discussion and lots of interaction between learners and just letting that, take them to different places.
I want to share something with you that comes up all the time from parents is, why? What will speech and drama do for my child academically? It's not a real subject. Will it be able to fast forward into something great for them? They don't understand that it will allow the child to express themselves more freely, dare to be different, to be able to get up and present something without having a fear.
It inculcates inquiry, communication skills, empathy, self-confidence, cooperation, leadership, negotiation, all of these things that you need as a skill set. No matter which profession you go into, it's about becoming a person who is self-aware, compassionate, and has a wider repertoire of knowledge, not just information that's in our phones. It's about how do we take that information? How do we make it into knowledge? How do we apply that into real life situations? And, that for me is the most important aspect of speech and drama.
I think sometimes I would like to get all of our parents into class and do exactly the same lessons as I would do with the older years and get them to get up and present and do something spontaneously and see how they react. I say to them this sometimes and they go, oh, no, it's not about me, Miss Paula. But it's difficult for the child. And we can see huge progress in our children, after a short time, actually. Once we bring out that little personality that's hidden inside of everyone and get rid of that stiffness and nervousness and allow them to just say something without worrying that they're making a big mistake. They're scared of saying the wrong thing in speech and drama sometimes. And there's no wrong answers in speech and drama. And like you said, these skills are certainly going to carry them right through their life.
Yes. I think it's about sort of having these conversations and like I was saying earlier, just being on the same page and looking at it as character building and developing interpersonal skills and just really having fun. Let's not forget the most important word. It's about children smiling. It's about children having fun and learning through play, learning through role play, learning through improvisation, learning through sharing one another's stories and finding those similarities between us.
I think that for our outreach programs, now we've done several outreach programs in the past, and we're online with our outreach programs currently because of the COVID-19, but we continue as normal. But in the schools, especially in Singapore, and you would be able to say more about KL, the children are actually starved of programs like this because it does allow them that freedom to speak out, to say what they're thinking, to share ideas more effectively with their friends. And the big thing here for me is like teamwork. They get the opportunity to work as a team, and they voiced that to me. Oh, we love our speech and drama class, but we like working with our friends because they only get to work together or speak with each other properly in recess, or unless they have other subjects where they have to work in a team together. But drama allows them to have that fun with a capital F whilst creating something playful.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more.
We would absolutely recommend more than one session, just so that the teacher gets to know the child a little bit more.
Yes, the outcomes for each learner are going to be very different.
Yes.
It's that is the nature of the subject. That's the nature of this journey, really, that we embark on in speech and drama, where we're working with each learner individually. We're understanding what their needs are. We're understanding what their skill sets are, where they need support, where they need a little navigation, and just allowing them to enjoy the pace they're at and gradually sort of pick that up as they're going through the program. There is no pressure we put on our learners. We just really kind of get to know them, and we allow the lessons to kind of, in a way, they're very bespoke in a way. We do have a lesson plan. Of course, we spend a lot of time curriculum planning with that, but we do have that movement in there, in those lessons, for them to shift and morph around the needs of our learners.
I believe that the curriculum is very much structured around the learners, and it gives the teacher the permission to maybe stick with something if it's working. So our topic today might be on water shortage, and the teacher might find, oh, this is going really well. The children are really want to be informed more about this, and we will just allow it to continue and then end up with something very creative, a little drama skit to go along with it. I think our curriculum very much allows that, and the team work very, very hard on it.
Absolutely. And linking it back to the sustainable development goals that we're all talking about. If you're looking at, for example, fashion, you can't really not talk about sustainable development goals. You have to talk about the conditions in these factories in Turkey and Bangladesh. You have to look at how fashion kind of works. What is the opportunity cost of going out there and buying a new pair of jeans? We can't not address climate change when we're talking about these things. So you were saying water shortage, that can be easily kind of linked into science and in all sorts of subject areas. So this is something that parents really need to kind of understand, that speech and drama is really so much more than getting up and role playing.
We developed some lessons revolving around saving the planet, and we had a great response from that, and the children very much enjoyed it. We put in some wonderful educational videos to suit their age group. For example, we spoke about Plastic City, what it would be like to live in a world full of plastic, and how plastic is damaging the sea and the sea life. And the children were absolutely intrigued by all of this, and it created such an awareness around it that the children took it out of the classroom and were talking to parents about plastic bags in the supermarkets and how not to accept one and to bring your own bag with you. So I think, any topic is on the list, and it's written to suit the age group that we deliver to. The other side of our curriculum, of course, is the communication skills for the older ones. Actually from primary 1, but we prepare them for examinations with Trinity College London, the communication skills examinations, and the acting, the drama, solo and group acting.
Yes.
And they are wonderful as well for those children and parents who really want to polish up on their presentation skills in schools, where they have small little projects and exhibitions.
Absolutely, and just have something to show for the work they've put in, and it's always nice to have that affirmation through a certificate and through a qualification, because it then shows your in further education as you go along. It shows that you have a trajectory there of public speaking and confident communication and speech and drama, which is like we've discussed, it applies in so many fields.
Lorna Whiston Schools has a long partnership with Trinity College London. I think it's in its 9th year. Mari and the team over there in Singapore are working on that currently to get the children prepared for the exams in November. I would like to say to the parents listening today that never, ever have I come across anybody who had gone from a job interview or has tried to get a placement in a university asked what actual level did you get in your Trinity College London exams. They're really not interested. It's all about the participation.
Absolutely. The process, the initiative.
In the subject that you did.
Yes.
It doesn't matter. You have done this. Okay, what did you present on? Oh, that's fantastic. How many of you did it? Did you do it solo? It's just they're more interested in how you put yourself across and what speech and drama has done to help you reach your goals in life. And I think for any child or any parent listening out there, you definitely must dip your toe into the world of speech and drama, because you have a wonderful journey ahead. There's so much involved in speech and drama that we would urge anybody listening to this wonderful podcast today to get on the phone and book your slot with Lorna Whiston Schools.
Nice. Second.
So I'm going to leave the final word to you today, Qasim, and your final input on why we should all be doing speech and drama.
I think it's because of the drive and the passion that comes from management, the team. Renee, who believes in what we're all doing, supports us, and has really inculcated this passion of teaching and learning. It really comes from us as a team. We're passionate. The lessons, it all obviously translates, all comes back into the classroom. And your child, the learner, is our priority. It's really the focus, and wanting to bring out the best in your child and let them learn and let them have fun.
On that note, I would like to thank everyone for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we've enjoyed hosting it. Do send us any questions you might have, or share with us any encouraging stories about your child and how they have benefited from being a student at Lorna Whiston Schools. Goodbye, everybody, and we hope to catch up with you again.